episode of Surviving the Survivor. We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. It is the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime with a nightly roundtable show. But during trials, especially the biggest one going on in the world right now, Sean Diddy Combs versus the United States government, we bring you lunch live updates. The morning today, day 11 of testimony, week 3, hit a bit of a boiling point as the defense for Sean Diddy Combs called for a mistrial. Hard to believe, but that in fact did happen inside the federal courthouse in Manhattan this morning. They're essentially accusing the government of misconduct for implying that evidence tampering was tied to Sean Diddy Combs, essentially to destroy fingerprint cards taken from Kid Cudi's home. The judge struck the testimony and told jurors to disregard it, but not before tensions flared. And we will break that down in just a moment. And in chilling testimony by both members of the Los Angeles Police Department and Los Angeles Fire Department, who arrived on scene and later investigated the firebombing, essentially, or the intended firebombing of Kid Cudi's Porsche. They were on the stand today talking about how gasoline, a glass bottle, a burned cloth, essentially it was a Molotov cocktail, was found inside the car, and the lighter found feet from the driver's door. Prosecutors say, hey, this was no accident. Was this an other act of retaliation connected to the star witness, a.k.a. Cassie Ventura, another act of retaliation connected to her via Sean Diddy Combs? And we are breaking it all down right here, right now. Again, week 3, day 11 of testimony. The day is May 28th, 2025. Today, the government really working hard to try to strengthen the RICO charge, otherwise known as the racketeering charge, by introducing physical evidence tied to this alleged retaliation against Kid Cudi. If you'll recall, Kid Cudi and Cassie Ventura began dating, and Sean Diddy Combs didn't know about this, and then he was not too pleased once he found out, and all of this a result of all of that. So, witness number 1 on the stand early this morning around 9 a.m. or so. Actually, a little later than that. It was Christopher Ignacio, an officer with the Los Angeles Police Department. Officer Christopher Ignacio. His testimony focus was really the break-in at Kid Cudi's home back in December of 2011. So there were really 2 incidents. There was the break-in after Sean Combs finds out about Cassie Ventura dating Kid Cudi, and then there is the attempt to destroy his car, Kid Cudi's car. That happens a little bit later on. So they are focused on these 2 events, both tied to Kid Cudi. He's tied to Cassie Ventura, having dated her around the same time as Sean Diddy Combs. And there you're looking at Kid Cudi on the right and Cassie Ventura on the left. So this police officer, Christopher Ignacio, says that he responded to Kid Cudi's Hollywood Hills home at about 8:20 a.m. This is back in December of 2011. The officer says that he noticed a black Escalade parked outside the home, and as police arrived, that SUV sped off into the distance. They did run the plate. They were able to get the plate, and it turns out this Cadillac Escalade was registered to Bad Boy Productions, Inc. That is Sean Diddy Combs' company. Let you do the math there in terms of correlation. They found the door to Kid Cudi's home unlocked. There were no signs of forced entry or property stolen. Valuables were in plain view. The officer, and I quote here, says that Kid Cudi was flustered, real flustered, but did not mention a gun or any kind of property loss. Now, Kid Cudi, he filed the incident as a trespassing not a burglary. He was then crossed, this police officer was, by the defense, and was essentially forced to testify to the fact that he didn't recall anyone mentioning a gun and did not reference a gun in his report. If you recall, they did talk about racing over there, and Sean Diddy Combs had a gun. There was a separate incident with Suge Knight that happened in Los Angeles as well, where they bump into Suge Knight. One of Sean Combs' bodyguards does at Mel's Drive-In, which is a famous hamburger joint in LA. And then they go back and try to go after Suge Knight, who had already left the restaurant. This time around, apparently there was a gun used when trying to break into Kid Cudi's home, but the officer did not write it in his report and did not recall anyone, at least while he was on the stand, who had mentioned a gun or the use of a gun. Witness 2 then takes the stand. These are obviously first responders, so I think their testimony is going to be very limited to what they saw and reported on at Kid Cudi's home, hence the sort of the quickness of them on the stand. They did not spend a whole lot of time up there, either on direct examination or cross-examination, but a better part of the morning, both of them were up there. Witness number 2, a guy named Lance Jimenez. He is a Los Angeles Fire Department arson investigator. Lance Jimenez. The testimony, the focus of his testimony today was this arson at Kid Cudi's home. Now, the break-in, December 2011. The arson, January 2012, so roughly a month later. And it was this person's job, firefighter Lance Jimenez, or investigator Lance Jimenez, to do exactly that, investigate the fire that destroyed Kid Cudi's Porsche that was parked near his garage. So this is important. It was not inside, it was outside. And you see there was a slit made in the roof, what appears to be sort of a canvas top to a convertible roof here. He did observe, the investigator said on the stand, the cut in the canvas roof, which is sort of hard not to observe. And you see the evidence sticker there, which is Government Exhibit 3F105. I can't see anymore. The investigator talked about burn patterns in the seats, the roof, the carpet, and the center console. And he discusses in somewhat kind of a great degree of detail a Molotov cocktail bottle on the front seat with a burned cloth on the console. So this is the first time through a witness that we're actually hearing the words Molotov cocktail. And, you know, we know that those are used during civil unrest, and it's sort of a, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? A crude way of starting a potentially dangerous and deadly fire. So a similar tactic here used as far as a Molotov cocktail goes. Now, just outside the driver's door, this investigator said that he found a disposable lighter. Whoever is carrying this out, and you got to think that somehow they are connected to Sean Diddy Combs, but whoever is carrying this out, obviously not the brightest bulb in the box, having left a lighter with DNA right on the lighter outside the driver's door. The investigator, determined that this Molotov cocktail, or the bottle housing it, did not explode properly. It did not explode properly. Instead, it smoldered and did not engulf the car in fire. So it was more of a smoldering effect than it was a fiery effect, which is, I guess, good for Kid Cudi's Porsche, bad for whoever started it, and presumably, again, it is connected to Sean Diddy Combs. A quote here from the arson investigator, the fire investigator: "Had the firebomb exploded as intended, the car and nearby foliage, possibly even the home, would have been torched." So if this Molotov cocktail had worked properly, then it is possible, this fire investigator says, not only would the trees have caught fire, we all know what has happened in Los Angeles, particularly in the Palisades, and in other parts of Los Angeles with the very dry conditions. So this is probably not only a horrendous idea, just in terms of retaliation and sort of a mobster mentality, but in light of the recent fires in Los Angeles, this is a especially bad idea. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The investigator says that they found partial female DNA on that Molotov cocktail bottle, partial female DNA on the bottle. Other items were a cloth and lighter, and they did not yield usable DNA. Now, the fire investigator says on the stand, hey, I'm not an expert in DNA. I couldn't really interpret the match implications of the DNA or whether there was or wasn't. He says that he attempted to contact Cassie Ventura and Capricorn Clark. We heard from Capricorn Clark yesterday, a former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs. But when this fire investigator tried to reach out to them on their behalf, there was no answer and no success. Are they covering for Sean Diddy Combs? Are they afraid of Sean Diddy Combs? I guess it's going to be for the jurors to try to figure that out. He went on to say that he tried to reach Cassie through a family member, but again, no go, as she never responded to him about this incident. Now, here's the controversy over the evidence and the fingerprints. Firefighter Jimenez, the investigator, noted both on the stand and back then that he had collected fingerprint cards from Kid Cudi's door from the 2011 incident, the one that happened just a month prior. So they had these fingerprint cards from back earlier when they broke into the house. And this firefighter testified today that an LAPD officer destroyed the fingerprint cards in 2012. So an officer within the LAPD took the fingerprint cards from 2011, from the prior incident, and simply destroyed them. At this point, the defense and Mark Agnifilo jump up and they object. And why are they objecting? They're saying that this implies evidence tampering, that this officer was somehow forced to lose or destroy these fingerprint cards at the behest of Sean Diddy Combs. That is the implication that the defense says that the government was making with that line of questioning. Now, what did the judge do? Judge Arun Subramanian, he struck the fingerprint discussion from the record and told the jury to disregard it. You see the judge there with his two monitors, his two computer monitors. I hope his neck is okay. And here's a quote. This is from the judge. The questions regarding the destruction of the fingerprint cards are irrelevant to this case and this defendant. But the defense at this point is seething, and this is probably the most dramatic turn in the trial, the most dramatic moment potentially up to this point. The defense then moved for a mistrial, claiming prosecutorial misconduct over the fingerprint questioning. Again, the defense moves for a mistrial, claiming prosecutorial misconduct over the fingerprint questioning. This is something we'll get into tonight with our panel. It appears to be very aggressive, but again, these are the best defense attorneys that money has to buy. Forced or paid, Brady Starr says, to destroy fingerprint cards. That is potentially true. And that's disturbing because now you're pulling in the LAPD into this entire conspiracy potentially. Were they forced? Did they do it? Were they paid? Who knows if a separate investigation was ever opened up into that or if it will be at some point. The defense here, and this is their quote, and I believe this was Mark Agnifilo, says they were suggesting someone in this courtroom. I wonder who that could be. They were suggesting someone in this courtroom had something to do with the improper destruction of these fingerprints. Again, they were suggesting someone in this courtroom, aka Sean Diddy Combs, had something to do with the improper destruction of these fingerprints. They said, you got to call a mistrial. This has to end today. We're walking out of here. Diddy's walking out after a mistrial, or at least getting put back at the MDC. Judge Arun Subramanian says not so fast. He denied the motion, and he said that the curative instruction, which was to basically strike that testimony and not listen to it, essentially, he said that that curative instruction was enough. But we all know, we've heard defense attorneys say this again and again, once the paste is out of the tube, it can't put the toothpaste back in. Once the bell has been rung, it cannot be unrung. So the jurors definitely heard this entire exchange. How will it affect them? Only time will tell. Now, the evidence, jury got to see some evidence. They were shown photos of the damaged Porsche, images of the bottle, the glove, the lighter, a black glove found in the back seat. It was not collected for testing. That black glove not collected for testing. Kid Cudi said it was his quote-unquote driving glove. Driving glove. I'll never forget. May she rest in peace. Marilyn Lerner, for my 18th birthday, gave me driving gloves. And I think that that's when they were cool. It was back in 1985. Who knew that anyone used driving gloves to drive their Porsche around the Hollywood Hills? Next time I'm in LA, I'm getting myself some driving gloves. You know what they are. They look like the Madonna gloves with the fingers cut off. Kid Cudi using driving gloves. Who knew? As far as the courtroom today, Sean Combs' mother, she had been missing a couple days. Janice was back in the house. She was there, as well as Sean Combs' sons. They were sitting beside her. Some of the kids had not been present, at least most of last week. Look at this, Sarah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let us know what you think. SurviveTheSurvivor@gmail. The book could change how you see life, not because of me, but because of my mom, Carm. There are a bunch of breaks taken in the mid-morning because people inside courtrooms like to take a lot of breaks, and Sean Combs was escorted back and forth by the U.S. Marshals who govern the courtroom while testimony and so forth, while that is all going on. There was a third witness today right before lunch, and this person is going to take the stand again after lunch, and this is Deontay Nash. He is a former makeup artist, and he's a celebrity stylist, I guess is the official term, and he also happened to be a very close friend of Cassie Ventura, and Cassie Ventura talked about him in her own testimony, saying that he was one of the few people. Porsche, Bill Davis, you're right. It's not Porsche, it's Porsche, but I don't want to sound smug and arrogant. So I was saying Porsche, but you're right. It is Porsche. I'm looking at the comments. So witness number 3, Deontay Nash. The focus of the testimony here, Sean Diddy Combs' controlling behavior. This goes to the sex trafficking. Remember, force, fraud, and coercion are the 3 pillars of that. You don't have to prove all 3. You have to prove one of the 3. So it's Diddy's controlling behavior and corroboration of Cassie's claims. That was the focus of having celebrity stylist Deontay Nash on the stand. Deontay Nash worked for Sean Diddy Combs from 2008 to 2018 as a, celebrity stylist, and that's when he became really close friends with Cassie Ventura. He made the courtroom laugh after being shown a photo of himself and saying, "Yeah, I look amazing." But what else would you expect from a celebrity stylist? He said, "I look amazing." The courtroom burst out laughing. But you're supposed to look amazing if you're a celebrity stylist. The remark, again, drew laughter from jurors and the courtroom observers, and it lightened some of the tension, particularly after the fact that the defense called for a mistrial. This guy, Deontay Nash, recalled Cassie was upset and reluctant to leave her own party on her 29th birthday. There was a freak off, and she told him, and I quote, this is his testimony, he's speaking about Cassie, he's making me freak off on my birthday. So this, it's kind of crazy what, like this was just a phrase that everyone knew about throughout the company, obviously the stylist, and now she is telling one of her good friends this guy Deontay, the stylist, that Diddy is making her freak off on her birthday. Not a very good birthday gift for your 29th birthday. He described Cassie as being, quote unquote, panicked and distressed. And this reinforced earlier testimony about coercion and forced sexual encounters. Again, coercion, force, fraud, and coercion. And right here, you see the two words coercion and forced sexual encounters. So Sean Diddy Combs is in a heap of trouble when it comes to these two parts of the sex trafficking charge. It appears that they've been proven again and again, and it carries a long prison sentence, and it's going to be tough for Sean Diddy Combs to get around this. Now, he also talked about an incident at a gay club around 2013. He says he, Cassie, Rita Ora, and Adrian Ballon Houghton went out to a gay club in Los Angeles. Cassie gets a call from Sean Diddy Combs, and he, Deontay Nash, hears him on the speakerphone saying, she better bring her ass to his house, meaning that Cassie better, and this direct quote, she better bring her ass to his house. He liked to control people. He liked to control things. And Sean Combs is saying she better get to the house. Now, at that point, he says that Cassie panicked, that she packed up and left immediately. And Deontay Nash describes this, and he's not a psychologist, he's a stylist, but he described it in so many words as a fear-based reaction. Deontay Nash testified that this was one of at least two different incidents where Sean Diddy Combs said that they needed, where he said that they needed Sean Diddy Combs's permission. So they actually needed permission before going out. This was one of two of those times. So again, Sean Diddy Combs, what a nightmare this sounds like to be under his proverbial thumb. It was time for lunch. They broke for lunch. Lunch is the afternoon is actually going to resume. Afternoon testimony is set to resume in about 10 minutes or so. So we will obviously bring the rest of what happens to you during tonight's roundtable show at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Why did all this matter today? Just a little bit more here. Prosecutors, again, need to build out. And if you watched our show last night, you heard some former federal prosecutors and defense attorneys and a former Florida state attorney, Dave Aronberg, talking about how the RICO charges, the case is pretty wild. It is pretty wild. And a lot of, one day this will no doubt be made into a, docuseries and or a documentary. But why it matters, prosecutors are building out the racketeering conspiracy case by connecting real-world criminal acts, notably break-in that we were hearing about at Kid Cudi's back in December 2011, followed by that arson in January of 2012. And this was Sean Combs retaliating against his rivals or those people who were trying to date his quote-unquote girl. Arson testimony and physical evidence from the Los Angeles Police Department and the Los Angeles Fire Department also support Kid Cudi's claims and bolster Cassie Ventura's earlier account about Sean Combs's absolute rage over her relationship with Kid Cudi. So they're trying to bring it together. And are they doing a good enough job? Only the jurors will know this. Sean Combs, he is 55 years old. He's accused of using his fame, fortune, and many businesses to run this sex trafficking and racketeering scheme in which he controlled and manipulated ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura for over a decade, using violence, threats, and these freak-offs. If convicted, he faces life in prison. And right now, it looks like, the odds are stacked against him. We also talked last night, and we'll talk again about the chances that Sean Diddy Combs, good. I have hope our judicial system works this time. We talked about whether or not Sean Diddy Combs will take the stand. And if they see no way out for Sean Combs, that could happen. And that means I could be on a plane because I want to check that out. So I might go back up for that if it does happen. I see a controlling monster, but I still don't see RICO. Again, We talked about this last night, and it is a nebulous definition. Even Tim Jansen, who is an actual former federal prosecutor, it's sort of, even though it's a federal charge and a federal indictment, it kind of shifts a little bit from state to state. It's going to be up to the jurors. I mean, right now we've heard about these two events. Well, we also heard about Suge Knight, so that's a third one where, again, they bump into him at Mel's Drive-In in L.A., and then, his security guard does, and then Sean Combs says, let's go get him, at least to that effect, and they hop in the car to try to go back there with their guns on them. So there's at least 3 instances of this. Joe Simpson says the verdict in this case doesn't come back quick enough. I think we are slumbering here in Sweden. No Diddy coverage in my papers. I'm thinking of letting them listen to your shows. They will know it all. Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you to Liza. I was going to say Liza, but it's Liza Joe. It's the combination of poor eyesight and smudges on my glasses. By the way, one last thing to just tell you about. Yesterday, the federal government said, hey, we said 6 weeks, but now we're only going to need 5 weeks. And our New York City-based former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney, Venu Varghese, said it'll likely be even less than 5 weeks. They're just kind of hedging their bets. They say they do this all the time to throw off the defense a little bit, but he would not be surprised at all if this is shorter than 5 weeks. I had another former federal prosecutor. There are a lot out there. She told me she thought that this would come to, that the government's case in chief might even end this week. I don't see that happening, but certainly next week is a very good guesstimate as to when they could call it a wrap. The question then is, does the defense bring their own case in chief? Do they call Diddy? Nobody knows. Nikki Cuds, am I going to come back? I don't know. If Sean Diddy Combs gets called to the stand, I might have to go up for that. And I'm going to check on some other trials going on. We've got Stefan Stearns, I believe, coming up in July. We've got Brian Koberger in August. We've got Donna Adelson in August. So it's going to be a busy summer. COE, anything else I need to do here or announce before hopping off? We'll be back at 7 tonight. By the way, behind the scenes, we're working on some potential Dan Markel Adelson news to bring you, but not quite ready to do that yet. But if we get some confirmation, we will bring it to you right away. The feds are very confident, solid case. He will see time. Mark my words, guys. This is Child of God. Who else are you going to listen to if you don't listen to Child of God? And by the way, the conviction rate for the federal government actually ticked up a notch in 2024 to 99%. So you literally have to be a 1%er, which Diddy is financially, but will he be when it comes to his freedom and his liberties? The odds on bets are against Sean Diddy that he will somehow get acquitted in this case. It would be fairly, I would say, miraculous at this point, and it would have to come from probably a lone juror who is a fan of Sean Diddy Combs, if that is the case, who is sitting there and saying all along, I'm going to acquit this guy. That, of course, would be jury nullification. The other thing that I asked about, by the way, yesterday, and then we'll wrap it up, is, you're seeing potential witness intimidation coming into the testimony with the prosecution asking about these fingerprint cards that were allegedly destroyed at the hands of the LAPD, perhaps at the behest of Sean Diddy Combs. So I was asking, well, how do we know that they are not intimidating a current juror right now? How do we know they're not offering a juror $1 million through a fixer or something along those lines? Well, there's really no way to know. And if you go back and watch the show, I think it was Tim or someone else essentially saying that they had to file something to put it on the record preemptively in case something like this were to come out, that the government has some sort of legal recourse to take. What that filing is precisely, I don't know. Emmy asking, has Cassie welcomed her baby boy? I don't know. She went into labor yesterday. She and I are not on a text thread. We do not talk. I have no idea. But I will let you know. And I'm sure If you want to find the answer to that one out, you got to go to TMZ. They will have that, I guarantee you, before anybody else. Let's see here. People also forget from Bill Davis, the first side to draw blood in the Bad Boy Death Row Records conflict was Bad Boy, when Diddy's bodyguard Wolf unalived Suge's friend Jake Robles. Look at this, Bill Davis. He is in the know. I'm not too familiar with the hip hop wars, but I will take your word for it. And so he is saying Bad Boy Records on the East Coast took the first step in this ongoing rap war between these two sides, East Coast, West Coast, which continues to some degree today. Child of God, we have a huge crime syndicate here in Texas. RICO is something you see here a lot, unfortunately. And again, that's exactly what it's made for. Drug dealers, drug bosses, mob bosses. I think it was implemented for the first time in New York City to catch the mob, the actual good old mafia. And by good old, I mean, you know what I mean, here in New York City. And Child of God saying that that is right. Look at this. TMZ posted, baby was born. Cassie's baby, I assume. Cassie, we know, was born because she's an adult, but I'm assuming that her baby was born. There you go. You have to go to TMZ. That's a plug for Harvey Levin. He should be sponsoring the show. Appreciate you all being here. We're going to come back at 7 o'clock tonight. 7 p.m. tonight. I always get, by the way, a few emails. Why does this guy who has an Emmy Award say so much? Try reading your notes for 30-something straight minutes. See if you can do it without an That's like a mental mental crutch. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyway, love you. Justice for the victims of Sean Diddy Combs. We'll see you 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. And I believe Phil and Scott are finally reuniting this Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. See you later, everybody.